He is a creator with a mind that soars out to speculate about atoms and infinity, who can place himself imaginatively at a point in space and contemplate bemusedly his own planet. He is out of nature and hopelessly in it. In 1973, Ernest Becker wrote The Denial of Death, ironically on his deathbed. The main thesis of the book is that every action one takes is because of death, as a way to ignore it and to avoid even thinking about it. Unlike other animals, man isn't moved by instinct. Because of that, we stand atop the rest of nature as gods, except we aren't, and Becker makes us painfully aware of that. We are fated to die, we know that, but we pretend we don't. We create countless distractions as a protection against this primal fear, so that the thought of death never crosses our minds. Minds capable of higher level thinking, and yet caged in a body meant to rot and wither away. It's a cruel reality, and one that only man has to go through. The Cambridge Dictionary defines reality as the state of things as they are, rather than as they are imagined to be. Reality is truth, a very harsh and apathetic truth. The question we now face is, what is mankind's reality?
It has a path and
Kind invites the crowd.
Control is empire.
It's difficult to provide an answer, being part of humanity ourselves, but if we were to strip life of all that is pointless and look at our core as beings, we soon realize there is only one unshakable truth in our lives: its end. At our core, only death is certain. This is true for all living beings. If the word living is to hold meaning, then the word dead must stand in its shadow. What sets man apart from the rest is his ability to look beyond the light and into the darkness cast by this shadow. Unlike other beings, we don't live life guided by a pre-programmed set of chemical reactions. Nature gave us rationality, but it didn't provide the mechanisms needed to deal with our mortality face to face. The realization that all we know is destined to end is, at best, unsettling and, at worst, nightmare-inducing. Given the primal nature of this fear, if we were to claim man had any true instinct, this would be it. A fear inherent to the human condition, caused by the paradox of existing in a higher plane of thinking and a lower plane of existence. If that's the case, in order for mankind to function, it must answer the question: how can we live knowing we will die? Man is narcissistic by nature, hopelessly absorbed with itself. Becker doesn't present this idea as inherently negative, rather as an essential part of the human condition. Self-esteem and self-worth could not exist without a working level of narcissism. A person lacking self-worth wouldn't feel the need to prove its existence as something necessary. Instead, it would accept its role as a mere creature. Why would such a being question its existence, if not for the fact that it believes it to have a special significance? This narcissism is what keeps man marching into point-blank fire in wars. At heart, one doesn't feel that he will die. He only feels sorry for the man next to him. The earlier question, how can we live knowing we will die, is, in other words, a search for meaning in our ephemeral existence. And so, the concept of immortality projects is introduced. Ways to perpetuate the self past the body's inevitable decay. Since man can't alter its physical reality, it has to immortalize itself conceptually, to leave a legacy that embodies its vision and ideals. The immortality project is then a lifelong striving for significance. In this sense, the pursuit of immortality projects comes from the sheer narcissism as man manifests the desire to feel remembered, to combat the fear of insignificance in the inevitable face of our mortality. Man, being a dualistic creature, seeks salvation from its physical fragility through the symbolic world it creates for itself. Art, legacy, or the cultural narratives that offer meaning past the temporary nature of life. In this context, the world of symbols can be seen as a stage where man is to prove its worth, to be the hero of his story. Heroism takes center stage in human life, with the hero being the one to march straight toward death. The courage to face death is met with eternal praise. We worship those who have seemingly broken their nature-imposed limitations. This has been the case before rationality was even at play. Our primate ancestors revere the extra powerful and courageous and ignore the cowardly. In a way, man has elevated animal courage into a cult. Having said that, society, the symbolic dimension, functions as a hero system, created by man for man, its primary goal being to create meaning in our lives, to offer us the possibility to play the hero. What we now need to consider is how this abstract concept of heroism is fulfilled within the structure of society. Historically, society has always been rooted in worship, with theocracies being the standard. This is not because men functioned differently back then, nor due to some weakness that is often unfairly associated with religion, but rather because religion serves as an ideal vehicle for human heroics. Man is lost, although it has been given the power of rationality to recognize its uniqueness in creation. It lacks a purpose for that uniqueness. Religion solves this problem by linking human existence to the cosmic plan established by a greater entity. In this context, the narcissistic man is put in a supporting role. It is no longer the one unique being, but rather a valuable piece in the greater scheme of the universe. Despite one's true insignificance, weakness, death, one's existence has meaning in some ultimate sense because it exists within an eternal and infinite scheme of things, brought about and maintained to some kind of design by some creative force. What Becker is saying is that faith in something greater than us provides social, cultural, and historical value. This way, the believer is freed from their need to prove their worth, as he has achieved cosmic heroism. To those who might see religion as the easy way out, consider this. Are you willing to destroy the narcissism that elevates you above other men? Are you ready to give up on the narratives that protect your selfhood and give meaning to your existence, and admit your ego amounts to nothing in the face of greater powers? The self must be destroyed, brought down to nothing in order for self-transcendence to begin. One must first rid themselves of all the armor it has created and face the helplessness of reality. Only then can faith truly emerge. Only then can man glimpse the infinitude that created our finite species. The reason why religion is a near-perfect hero system is that it allows for any human being, regardless of status, to feel that their existence holds value within a grand, eternal plan. The slave, the king, and the peasant can all feel a shared sense of meaning, knowing that their lives contribute to something far greater than themselves. Though their bodies may die, they live on as part of something eternal.
Most bacteria are friends of man.
Using the light pen.
Here is an outside view of the entire... The new highways of research. Cancer is one of the most...
Gestation is much further advanced at 10 days.
If we now look at modern society, it's obvious the hero system has changed. Secular humanism and science have replaced religion as dominant worldviews in many parts of the world.
The irradiated cells do reproduce.
A remarkable new device splits.
Religion has taken a significant step back in importance and is no longer the primary stage for heroic expression. The limitation modern society faces is that while in religion you prove your worth before a cosmic entity, in society you do it in front of fellow mortal beings. This shift means that the rules for heroics are set by mankind itself, leading to individuals becoming slaves to the narratives created by their culture, narratives that shape their identity and worth. The stage for heroism has become significantly smaller. Even the thought of being a hero seems unreasonable to the common man. As Becker says, tell a young man that he's entitled to be a hero and he will blush. While man's narcissism fuels his need for uniqueness, societal constraints limit his ability to live freely and perceive reality authentically.
The hungry animal is active. The satiated one is not.
How can one find its true self-identity when their worth is defined by people who are no greater than him? This tug-of-war between desire for individuality and the need for external validation creates three archetypal responses that the modern man adopts to cope with it. The first of the three is the inauthentic man. As Becker describes, this individual is not his own person. He does not truly belong to himself, but is instead a product of his social conditioning. Fully immersed in a fictional world society has constructed, he is content with the superficial comforts it offers: the car, the shopping mall, and the 2-week summer vacation. As long as he doesn't go off the beaten path, he remains safe within the limited ideas society offers him. It's more appealing to live in a comfortable prison than to face the uncertainty of true freedom. As Becker says, the safest thing is to toe the mark of what is socially possible. The second archetype Becker identifies is the introverted man. The introverted man bases his pride on something deeper and inner, creating a distance between himself and the average man. He enjoys solitude and reflection and shows contempt for the inauthentic man, who lives to please others and become what they expect him to be. Although it is a step forward in the right direction, the introvert is still playing his role in the standardized hero system. From Becker, he lives in a kind of incognito, content to toy in his periodic solitudes with the idea of who he might really be, content to insist on a little difference, to pride himself on a vaguely felt superiority, and so he holds himself apart from the regular world, but not far enough that his uniqueness would lead to real confrontation. The final archetype is the defiant man. This is the man who tries to be the master of his fate. Unlike the inauthentic man, he's not a pawn of society, and unlike the introverted man, he doesn't retreat into secret dreams or fantasies. The defiant man revolts against his existence, living solely for the present with little regard for tomorrow. He denies his lack of control over events by immersing himself in the body and its sensations. Becker doesn't see this type as inherently negative, simply that it lacks deeper reflection. Without thought for long-term goals or meaning, this type of defiance is incomplete. He still remains trapped in a cycle of avoidance, using short-term defiance to avoid serious thought on mortality. Becker calls it a defiance that is not reflective and so not completely self-possessed. It's clear that in modern society, opportunities for heroism are far more limited than in the past. Man can no longer rely on the grand narratives that religion once offered. The role of hero, once accessible to all, has become more exclusive than ever. Secular forms of immortality, such as fame and wealth, are still possible but extremely difficult to achieve for the majority. This exclusivity leaves the modern man more prone to existential crisis than ever before. Without a readily available path to heroism, man struggles to find meaning in a fragmented world where traditional solutions are increasingly scarce. Confronted with these challenges, the modern man can either succumb to his situation and fall in line with the masses, or he can look for new pathways to meaning. Although the outlook may seem bleak, Becker identifies some ways the modern man can confront this existential challenge. The creative solution bases itself on the individuation of the person, the separation from the herd. Rather than accepting life as society defines it, the creative man sees it as a problem to be understood and reinterpreted. While this description is somewhat similar to that of the introvert, the key difference is that the creative has the courage not to work in the shadows. He boldly disregards society's shared meanings, asserting his unique interpretation of life. By doing so, he risks isolation and rejection, yet his works become his ticket to immortality. Although it is easier to associate the creative with artists, Becker's view on creativity applies to any person who sets themselves apart from societal norms to pursue a life that feels authentic to them. Conformity is a problem more prevalent than ever, making it necessary for a solution. Looking through the lens of modern society, the creative is seen not as a hero, but as a madman. Conformity is rewarded, while uniqueness is viewed as a nail that must be hammered down. Society severely limits what is believed to be possible, offering only a few safe and tested options. Modern man is not truly himself, he is merely a reflection of society around him. Lacking true inner values, he doesn't question his identity, it's all he's ever known. Depressingly, the inauthentic man is now the standard, but it doesn't have to be. Becker's The Denial of Death forces the reader to ask a series of questions. What do I value in life? Are those values truly my own, or are they shaped by surrounding expectations? How do my values change in times of crisis or uncertainty? What fears do I have regarding my own mortality? Am I consciously pursuing symbolic immortality, or am I blindly following society's beaten path? Once one reflects on these questions and actively tries to discover their own meaning in life, they may be surprised by the broader and more authentic perspective they gain on life.